All right, we are live. Palantir Weekly, episode number 30 freaking 3. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm here today with a bunch of new guests that you guys have probably not seen on stream before. We have Steven at Dividend Streams. We have Gabe at Geostrategies. And we have Randall at Shabby Shambles. So thank you all for being here. Quick introductions for each of them. Steven is I actually don't know what your profession is, Steven, but I know you work in the corporate world and you write a ton of great articles on Seeking Alpha, do a lot of technical analyses, big SoFi bull, Palantir bull, so I'm sure he's going to shed a lot of light. Gabe is a financial advisor or financial.
No, I'm not. I am not a financial advisor.
But he's an analyst, right?
It's definitely not financial advice.
So listen, I want to make this really flippin' clear. I am a finance analyst, and in that purview, I am a CFO, Chief Financial Officer, for a line of business within the bank. If you know how the bank works, banks are huge.
Okay, so no one cares that much. All right, so
yeah, sorry.
Gabe is a financial analyst. He is also a YouTuber who just reached 1,000 subscribers. So I want to give a nice little applause for that.
Congrats, dude.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
Great stuff. Gabe started literally like less than a month ago, and so
more than a month now.
It's gonna be.
You didn't really post more than a month ago, so
give it a couple months. He's gonna pass me.
Give it a couple months. It's been rapid growth. Awesome to Gabe. Randall is a computer programmer. He's also an angel investor in my startup. He is also a YouTuber, and I'll put his YouTube channel in the description. He just recently started. He's doing these crazy videos where he's building entire operating systems and shit. And like he tweeted it the other day, and I was like, "What the? He's building a whole new operating system?" And he's like vlogging his whole journey, which is crazy.
That's the project.
It's super awesome. Yeah, he's a very, very talented programmer. And then we got Matt, who just makes money and dumps it into the market. And so
Matty Poor Boy, as I like.
Matty Poor Boy. There we go. Yep. Steven, do you want to introduce yourself? What you do for a living?
I'm in procurement and insurance, and in my free time, I write a ton of articles on Seeking Alpha.
Okay.
Oh man, that's cool.
Very cool. All right,
yeah,
so
big, to read some of your stuff on Seeking Alpha.
Yes, biggest news of the week. Let's talk about that. We got the Palantir and Hertz partnership. So Palantir has officially partnered with Hertz. This is one of the first commercial partnerships that we got in a while, to be honest. We were getting a lot of governmental deals. Obviously, we got about $800 million of governmental contracts over the past month, but we didn't really see too much from commercial. And then we got some commercial deals. So I just want to play a video very quickly explaining the deal. And then we are going to keep going from there. So this is Carp explaining how Foundry is going to help Hertz from a data-driven perspective. For those who don't know Hertz, it's basically a car rental company. They have a fleet of 500,000 vehicles. So big company, lots of data, and they're using Palantir to manage it.
EV, how does this Foundry software help you do that?
Part of what we do is we have telematics and intelligence in the car. We know where the cars are and where they're moving, but we want to know and anticipate things about the car. We want to know how much charge is an electric vehicle coming into our location with, how much time are we going to need to put that car back up to a charge and put it out again. We need to know if brakes are going to, are in need of repair, commission those parts ahead of time, have them there so we can turn the car quickly. Understanding and knowing that data, digesting that data, I think is the core of what we're trying to do here. And obviously what Alex and his team at Palantir bring forward is an ability to take reams of information and consolidate it into a coherent package such that we can take action and action the data, that we're sitting on. And I think it's a super exciting opportunity, particularly around the electric vehicle, which is obviously the direction we're going in terms of taking our fleet to an electric fleet to the tune of about 25% by the end of 2024.
Okay, let's start off with Matt. Your thoughts on this partnership?
I love it. I think it just continues to expand in every single way that we're used to seeing Palantir continue to do. I think it fits rightly into the EV market. A lot of what Palantir is all about is increasing efficiency and helping solve problems. Obviously, with 500,000 cars, most of which are going to be EVs, understanding the efficiency associated with that is turning those around and keeping track of all that data. That's a lot. And having that in a central database rather than specifically focusing on each individual Hertz location is probably going to be even more crucial to ensure that they have the ability to maximize the efficiency and the capital return of each individual car. I think if you're able to, and let's just say an example, get 2 more rentals out of a car every single, let's just say, month, that's an additional $60 to $70 a day that you might be able to get out of that individual car. It's going to increase the return by X percentage, right? And the money is going to be well spent across a fleet of 500,000 cars to be able to do that. And that's obviously why the partnership is key.
Okay, Stephen, your thoughts?
Look, all new contracts are good. I think everybody can agree on that. And this is a new industry. You never know where this can lead. Maybe enterprise is next, maybe they're not, but this has huge implications for the future. It just goes to show you how many companies are adopting Palantir software. And this is just a great compounding factor off of the Exxon news.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Logan as well. So we got a full house today. Logan is joining the live stream as well. Logan, any thoughts on the Palantir Hertz deal when it came out to you?
I don't know. This is what I kind of predicted, to be honest. Can you hear me okay on the mic?
Yeah, you're loud as heck.
Oh, loud? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You can just reduce the gain a little bit.
How about now?
Yeah, that's better. Yep.
Much better, man.
Okay. Yeah, I made a good deal. The thing I wanted to see was what's that deal value? We really don't know yet. I think that's a big question right now is how big is that going to be? Can it snowball? Obviously, that's just Hertz. They only have a small part of the market. So could that grow to other companies in that same space? Obviously, they've done that with Airbus, with their entire fleet. So I think that's really showing how well the software works in the fleet environment. And that's just such a massive TAM. So that's my thoughts.
Randall, your thoughts on this?
I'm always a redheaded.
Gabe, you're always going to be last. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know. I'm the redheaded stepchild in this mofo. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal to see increased growth in the consumer side of their business, especially in this market, just in the macro environment, just seeing a company as big as Hertz is, saying that, yes, we need Palantir, even as the economy is contracting. We need Palantir to grow our business and to move to where we want to be.
Okay. Gabe, your thoughts on the partnership?
So I think any partnership for Palantir is great. And I'll tell you why. You know, there's so many great minds on your show about Palantir that know so much, like deep dives on Palantir, and just so much, what seemingly innocuous things, and they bring it to light, right? Or things that no one had ever any idea about. But the easiest way that I have been explaining Palantir to people is that Palantir's AI has the ability to make almost any company in any business better, right? That's the easiest way I explain it. And, it's not too much details. It's just, broad stroke explanation. All right. And I definitely don't know as much about Palantir as you or Chris or Matt, but I do know Palantir. We've discussed that. And they've been around for over 18 years. They have such a head start on this AI and everything. And one of the things I said, I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, but I was in the comments. This is the first time I've actually been privy enough to be at a Palantir late night talk, is that Palantir's government, right, and the prowess in their government dealings and whatnot is going to do more than just keep them afloat, right? It's going to propel them a little bit, but it's their commercial that will eventually make them go parabolic. Like every great company has a certain time where they go parabolic. People thought that Amazon's was during the .com bubble. It wasn't, right? They lost over 90%, and then they stayed the course and they became the behemoth that they are. Tesla, or people thought that Tesla would never get there, that it was a pipe dream, right? In 2020 and 2021, not only did they go parabolic, they got admitted to the S&P 500, et cetera, et cetera. Palantir is literally the only company, speculative at that I am bullish on in this market. And I think that the Hertz partnership is just a perfect example of how many things they can do. And you wait till Hertz has an earnings report that was exponentially better because of the AI, right? Then people are going to flock to them. Listen, this isn't going to be linear. This is going to be exponential. And I may be a little bit biased because I own shares, but I think everyone in here is a little bit biased. But one of my greatest assets is that I have the ability, and you know this firsthand, Amit, because we've actually met in person, so you know me. I am extremely logical and pragmatic, right? So I may have a bias.
Okay, I'll push back a little bit.
Yeah, screw you.
Like,
anyway, I'm done. That was all I wanted to say.
You're logical. Extremely is the adjective that I don't know. I don't know if I would put that. But okay.
I hate you sometimes so much. All right. Anyway, I'm done. That's it. That's what I think. I think
no, but I agree with you 100%, Gabe. I mean, it goes to show you. I mean, if you go from when they did their initial Investor Day presentation, basically direct listing, to how many industries they are in now, with how many different companies they're in now, it's another brick in the truth that Palantir helps creating customized software for specific industries. And not only will that continue to grow a massive moat, but as others see how influential that is to their bottom line, they will flock, as you say, and we will eventually get to the parabolic part on the S curve.
I also think it demonstrates.
Yeah, Randall, you got it.
Yeah, I also think it demonstrates that their presentation has gotten a lot cleaner and a lot better. I know there was some talk back a couple months ago. Oh, CARP is crazy. CARP is doing all these like weird presentation things, and I think that since then they've really taken that to heart and improved their presentation and improved their rollouts on stuff like this. It's really encouraging.
I wanna open the discussion for a new topic. We've seen a lot of stuff over the past couple of weeks, or this week, around nuclear war and Elon Musk proposing solutions and threats getting more elevated. And you've got people like David Sachs that are very big in the Valley commenting on this stuff. I think CARP was the first person to talk about the threat of a nuclear war, or like the first major CEO to really make it a big deal. And people thought he was fear mongering, and it didn't seem like he was. So let's start with Steven. Any updated thoughts since CARP, I think 4 months ago, said the threat of nuclear war is very high, and kind of what you've seen happen over the past couple of months in regards to the geopolitics scene?
I want to stay away from politics personally, but what I will add to that is Alex Karp is dealing with a different subset of information than pretty much anyone else on the planet. So you got to take what he says very seriously. And software is proven to work. They just got the new accreditation from the US government, which only Microsoft and Amazon have, if I have my facts straight. I don't believe Google has it. I don't think Google will ever get to level 6. We'll see, only because of their ties. And this could open up the door for huge European business over the next years, maybe even quicker. So hate to say that bad times are good for Palantir, but it certainly feels that way.
Steven, what were your thoughts real quick before Gabe goes on the IL6 certification? When
it's amazing. And one thing that I wrote about, I'm not sure if people remember it, but the DoD, they 86 the JEDI contract last year, $10 billion contract. And they said it was going to get parceled out to several vendors. You got to think that some of the government work that Palantir picked up could be part of that. It wasn't said in the news releases, but level 6 helps them really secure a foothold with more contracts through the DoD under the JEDI accreditation. So it's very good, very promising.
Okay, Gabe?
Right. So dividend streams. What's your first name?
Steven.
Steven. Thanks, Steven. Stephen, what you said there, I think so many people just don't even think about that. Yeah, Alex Karp is eccentric AF, right? And he says some things sometimes, but what you said there, where he works with a different set of data than everyone else, should not be underestimated, right? Some people might even say that he needs to not speak publicly because of the data that he is privy to. But I love that, Stephen. So that was awesome. I think, although you can't put a price on it, right? Just look at the rarity. As humans, what do? We value things the more rare they are. The more rare they are, the more value we attach to them, right? So gold is valued because it's rare. Diamonds are valued because it's rare. And don't tell me the thing about them all being hoarded. I know. I'm just sake for analogies. So things garner value from it being rare, and extremely rare garners more value. It is something when a company who is an infant compared to the other two people who hold the title have something that no other companies in the entire world that Palantir has. Did you know that the government, our government, the U.S. government, spends more than $800 billion a year on government? That's their budget. $800 billion a year. $800 billion a year. And Palantir is one of the 3 companies that has this level 6. And that is worth, to me, a lot. Like that is not priced in. Not priced in. And the last thing I'm going to say before I move on, I have been saying for a while now, as our economic discourse has been getting worse and worse, and we barrel down in a bear market, I believe this is just Gabe, thinking outside the box. This is not financial advice. This is not fact. This is my opinion, right? My opinion. I believe that eventually Palantir will go inverse the market. The market will still be a bear market, and Palantir eventually, because it's not there yet, will go inverse the market, because Palantir, with the government sector, literally is built for this kind of stuff, this kind of turmoil. This is where they make their money. This is why they get hired. So that's just one thing I wanted to share again. Amit, I've told you that before, but I just wanted to reiterate that. Thanks for the time.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point that there could be a potential inverse relationship between the market, especially if China were to invade Taiwan and supply chains were to get destroyed overnight and flipped up. I mean, there would need to be a company to handle that, and I think a lot of defense stocks might be called upon in that time to go inverse. Randall, any thoughts you have on the whole nuclear war scenario and Karp kind of philosophizing that this stuff would get serious?
Well, I hope that we don't get to nuclear war, obviously, but I mean, look, their software is battle tested, right? Their software is tested against these challenges that they keep seeking out. They're in the UK when the UK has a problem. They're in the Ukraine when the Ukraine has a problem. They go where challenge is and test their software against those challenges. And it makes their software that much better. And I think that's why they got level 6, honestly.
Logan, any thoughts you have on some of the nuclear war level 6 certification stuff?
Yeah, I think I think we really have to look back to August of 2021. I mean, that Alex Karp letter that seemed at the time, super cryptic, calling for the Black Swan event. I think, like Stephen was saying, is that we can't underestimate the power of the data that Palantir has at their fingertips. And there was obviously something in the data that they were seeing at that time that, maybe didn't predict that exact scenario, but I mean, looking back on it, things have played out pretty much as to how Alex predicted in that shareholders letter. So, I think looking back on the markets and the price, I think people might have a lot of, regret in terms of maybe they should have taken that more seriously. But if you're a long-term investor, that gives you more confidence, right? And their ability to tackle these problems.
That was so great, Logan. And because in August of 2021, we were still in a bull market. As a matter of fact, we did not start going down until January 2022. If you look from peak to trough where we are now, that didn't happen until 2022, like the very, very beginning. We didn't have the first inverted yield curve until April of 2022, April 1st to be exact, right? People forget we have short-term memories. Alex Karp literally said, we are getting ready for a possible black swan event. And then fast forward till today, I think that what's going on with Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, you name it, those are things that he was talking about. I mean, I freaking forgot about that, Logan. Like, you remind him, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, it's huge. And
that's
I
so
go back
huge.
and I'll reference that letter and just look at it, and I like to short a lot of stocks. And so I have a lot of personal regret. I'm like, geez, I should have listened to Alex on this one. But it gives you a lot of perspective to think about, okay, how much data do they really have? And what was telling him that this was coming? Because like you mentioned, at that time, bull market was full steam ahead. Interest rates were 3%. I mean, what happened? This is just 1 year ago.
Yeah, great point.
That's when they were buying gold, right? In August,
yes, they were. Yes, they were.
And about the gold.
By the way, gold, I'm telling you guys, 6 months from now, 6 months to a year, gold and silver is going to be way higher than it is today. That's what I'll say about that. So, I will never call anyone dumb for hedging their portfolio with some gold, whether it be physical or ETFs. But yeah, this is not financial advice, so we can move on. Sorry.
I disagree with the precious metals, but that's another topic.
Why do you disagree?
Still love you, Matt.
I just don't foresee if gold were to or silver were to go on I think bullish run. I think it would have done so already with inflation already out of control.
You can't because look how high the dollar is, Matt. Gold gets its value when the dollar starts to plummet. Just so you know, we're not there yet. That's part of the cycle of a recessionary cycle, and we're not there yet. You must understand how gold gets its value.
So if, let's say, the dollar does drop 20% against a lot of the other currencies, gold's going to go up 20%. Is that?
I never said it. I never said it was a linear. It was
okay. I'm not trying to, but I guess I'm curious what you're bullish.
Yeah, absolutely. So gold, silver, precious metals, right? And this is why people think crypto, which I'm not a fan of crypto. Gold and silver and precious metals, palladium, etc. They can actually be used in stuff, right? So the theory is, one of the many theories is that, once peak fear, right? Once peak fear and the economy is in shambles and jobs are all-time lows and the dollar, along with everything else, has low value and people are seeing their assets lose value overnight, gold, silver, etc., starts to gain value because it has a real world bartering. It's like fiat. The fiat dollar is just printed paper, right? But and this is just one of many theories in a world where it's people are thinking the end of the world's coming, etc., etc. Gold holds actual value. Why do you think China, Russia, all the big countries, but China and Russia has like, I think, increased by over 300-fold the average amount that they buy, because countries buy gold and they hoard it, right? And they all do this. So there has to be some kind of rationale behind that. Or like
my thought process, Gabe. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. Go ahead.
That's rude, but of me to do that. But my thought process is if things were to get too much in shambles, a nuclear winter were to come, gold and silver won't matter a dime. What's going to matter is bullets. What's going to matter is oil.
Yes.
What's going to matter is food.
Yes.
And so to me, gold is something that's shiny. What's going to matter is bartering for other goods with other goods. And
you're not wrong.
The other goods is likely to be bullets and guns and stuff of the like.
Listen, you're not Mac, and you're talking about a apocalyptic thing, and I get that. And that I'm saying when there's peak fear and you're starting to get there, that's when gold like really. So you're talking the apocalypse, and I'm talking when people think the apocalypse is coming. You understand?
Got it.
Gold definitely holds its value during high times. Look, I remember like it was yesterday. It was 2011, no 10. It was 2010, and I was in Iraq. I was in not Camp Ashraf. That was 05. I was in Baghdad. I was literally working out of one of Hassan Hussein's palaces, and I remember that gold hit an all-time high.
You working at a Saddam Hussein's palace?
One of his, yeah. So Camp Victory, Iraq. We took over his palaces, right? And in 2010, it was Operation New Dawn. It was basically we're leaving. That's when if you know your history, that's when we left. So I was part of the 18th Airborne Corps at that time. So we went there in 2010 and exited in 2011. And I remember I wasn't infantry or anything. I was a tactical communication person. I was a 25 uniform signal support system specialist, and I was a staff sergeant at the time in E6, and I was with the 18th Airborne Corps and the corps level, right? So there's company, there's battalion and brigade, and then there's corps level. So the corps, our FOB, our base, not FOB, but our HQ was the palace. It was dope, and I did lots of things. Long story short. But yeah, I worked out of the palace. And sorry to sidetrack. We'll get back on track here. But I remember because this is about the time when I just started getting into the market. This is when my father passed away, and you know the story. And I started like looking into how to build wealth, etc. And then I remember I was following gold, and gold literally hit an all-time high in around 2010. So I remember very vividly, like there's some things you don't forget, and that's one of them. And during that time, Matt, the market was not doing great, right? In 2005, well, 2005 was really in shambles, but then in 2008, we were hitting the 2008 collapse. In 2010, it was still bad. And, I remember companies like KBR, Kellogg Brown and Root, Harris, because Harris radios, they do our tactical radios like satellite radios, high frequency, etc. Boeing, all these companies were doing great, and I remember this because I just started learning about the market back then. So in times of extreme stress, there are companies whom can profit off of that, and I don't think Palantir is any different. I think Palantir is the KBR of 2005. So, yeah.
I agree.
And real quick, on the precious metal conversation, if you had bought Silver Eagles a while ago, your spread over spot is 87.7% right now. The Gold Eagles, they're both 1 ounce. Your spread is only 11.7% because there's a shortage on silver.
I appreciate that, but when it actually comes to using it as gold, I don't think people are going to pay the collector's value for it. Yeah.
So it's not a collector's value. It's what you would pay for it from any bullion dealer. And also remember, silver has many applications in manufacturing in addition to being a conductor of electricity. So silver has much other applications that you could look at.
But you're saying specifically that, you're not talking about silver bars. You're talking about people that are investing in, say, 2001 Silver Eagles, 2002 Silver Eagles that are paying a collector's premium, 87% over.
They're paying over spot right now. What I'm saying is if you have been buying Silver Eagles in the past, right now would be a good time to possibly dump them because of how large the spread is compared to a Britannica, which is the British silver dollar. So there's a pretty big.
We lost you there for a second, Steve.
I was just saying there's a pretty large spread on the American coins right now compared to other countries.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you brought it up. I didn't realize that it was up above that much. Recently, before my dad passed away, last year he bought a lot of silver and gold. So I know I technically have to be watching after it as well, because that's, I guess, kind of me to help manage that estate. So
Gold weekly podcast. that would be
Number one.
To start. All right, Palantir earnings coming up November 7th. We also got that news this week. I want to go around the panel. Karp's been very public over the past 4 weeks, like 7 interviews he's done. He kept saying, or he's kept reiterating, that the U.S. Growth has been 67% CAGR, government and commercial, over the past couple of years, right? So he's like, we're growing 67%. I personally don't think things were going to suck. Because before Q2 earnings, which objectively kind of sucked, right? They beat revenue by $1 million. Earnings per share sucked. SPAC losses hurt us. We reduced the operating margin to 23%. He said profitability is in 2025. He didn't do any public interviews before that because it's like, yeah, things just suck. Whereas over the past, 3 months, he's really been out there. So let's start with you, Steven. Any thoughts on earnings coming up and sort of what you think we'll see in the short term?
I am optimistic. I am hoping that the Alex Karp we have seen in recent interviews is the Alex Karp that shows up on earnings, because as a shareholder, I do not want a repeat of what happened last time. I was pretty critical about his comments.
Can you reiterate why you were critical and why you wrote that nasty article about him that you sent to me, by the way, and said, "Hey, is this too mean?" And I was like,
I did, and I did tone it down. I wouldn't go as far as nasty. It was very critical because as a shareholder of Palantir, I don't want the CEO going on a conference call saying that they are a difficult company to work with. I think that anybody who is sitting around a table discussing implementing new software is going to say to themselves, is it worth the hassle, and should we look at another company or one of the other companies that we met with in the RFP? Maybe we should give them a second look. And I was disappointed in those. Spent some money on PR, got some training, because the interviews he's been given has been great. And I really hope that Alex Karp shows up. As far as earnings, I'm not too concerned about this quarter. I want to see what he says in the earnings call. I want to see the numbers, obviously. I prepared some slides for later, but I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt for several quarters before I make a final decision. I always said that this is a company I want to hold till 2030. If you're not looking at this as a very long-term investment, this isn't the right company, because it's going to take some time for them to really mature and monetize what they're bringing to the market. And I would like them to, at the very least, put the cohort growth slides back in the quarterly presentations. They are very important. And I want to see how that materializes. And I think the one thing that you're probably going to say that I'm going to agree with, if you're using stock-based compensation, which I'm fine with, and I can explain that later, I want to see the net dollar retention increase. I don't want to see it decrease quarter over quarter. Even though I believe it was up 30% year over year, if you are paying salespeople as part of their compensation with stock and diluting shareholders, that number needs to go up.
I definitely see both sides from Karp's perspective and a shareholder's perspective, right? You want to see somebody with great temperament that is able to articulate. And what I see coming out of Karp, this is where I see both sides, is he feels as though the company is still misunderstood. Folks are being very critical of it, and the share price reflects that. But at the same time, I recognize the true power, and I think everybody that's on this call also recognizes the true power of what Palantir has begun to do. And I think that we all see that other industries coupled with other companies themselves recognize that, but the share price isn't going that way. And so I think I understand where you're coming from. Obviously, you want to make sure that your CEO has a stoic sort of presence that's able to articulate well and show up well, kind of like a Steve Jobs, right? Is able to get somewhat kind of fierce and to the point on a conference call without having to bang a table. But at the end of the day, I also see where Alex is. I anticipate it's extremely stressful moving from a world where for 16 out of the 18 years you've been in business, not having to worry about, say, these shareholders, and now you're opening it up to, all these other people to kind of poke holes in your business. And it's tough. So I agree with you wholly that the PR money was well spent, the coaching is well spent, and I've noticed a difference. And I hope that he's able to harness that passion into articulating it slightly better. And I think that will eventually, and I think has, started to get the PR in the right direction.
Randall, your thoughts on earnings coming up? Anything you'd like to see?
I mean, the market, the casino, and earnings time doubly so. So I don't want to spend too much time speculating. I will say I like the Carp's attitude and the lead up here. But I'm not gonna spend my time speculating on what the earnings numbers will be, because we're just gonna have to wait and see.
When did you first start buying, Randall, Palantir? Was it 2021 or before that?
Yeah, I bought it around their IPO date.
Okay. So you've been there for a while. Cool. Logan, your thoughts on earnings?
I've gotten all too used to waking up, the morning of earnings and having it be down 15, 20%. So I don't really care. My main focus will just be on the commercial side. I think that after the month of September, I think that some of those concerns around government have probably eased a little bit. So that won't be a main focus. I think it'll be interesting to see what maybe like Cathie Wood does going forward. Now that her thesis on Palantir has been squashed in terms of the government side. But yeah, and I also think even if they posted crazy commercial growth numbers, I don't think that the market's going to react, all that great. That's just, the point that we're at with the market. But if we're green after earnings, I'll be, happy. So.
Given that point about government, and Gabe, you can comment on this as well. Chris is in the chat. He said Palantir are going to rock earnings. People, government checks are in the mail. Does anyone think Cathie buys back, given the government thesis for selling was seems like it was wrong?
That's such a good question.
You want me to answer first since it's my turn?
Go ahead. Yep, you got it.
Everything. Okay, I'm going to answer that question first, and then I'm going to answer what I think about earnings. So the answer to that question about Cathie Wood is it depends. If Cathie, because I don't know her as a person at all. But there is a lot.
You didn't know Cathie? I didn't.
No, and I don't even want to speculate.
That. You don't know one of the biggest fund managers in the world. I didn't know that.
No, I don't know her as a person. I'm getting to it, smart Alec. What I'm trying to convey is that is she have an ego, right? If she does have an ego and it will control her, then she will not buy back. But I think if her team or if she can see that, okay, they got lucky, they sold at a good time, they dodged a bullet. However, that horse of Palantir is the winning horse. It's a horse they want to be on. Then she should buy. Now, I'm going to continue talking about earnings, and I'm going to preface it with this, right? Because I'm normally not a speculative person, right? I am a swing trader, but I'm like you that in my investments, Amit, and you know what I'm talking about is when I invest, right, which is for the long term, I go for companies that I really, really believe in, and I put my eggs in those baskets. Like one of the best investors of our time, Druckenmiller, he said, people who say putting all your eggs in one basket is bad are idiots, is what he said. He said, if you believe in something, put all your eggs in that basket and watch it like a hawk. Now, this is a man who compounded 30% a year on average, 30% compounded rate of return over a long period of time. So Amit, I like that you are a quote unquote gambler in that regard, right? And people like to, in the community, whether it be the newbie retail investors or the YouTubers who are risk averse, they like to throw lots and lots of shade and scream at us when we're wrong because something goes down, because they're short-minded. Haha, look, you lost. So yes, Palantir went parabolic and then came back down. Palantir is at $8.29 right now. They are lower than their IPO. They are extremely, extremely de-risked and have not gone down since May. They mark my words, their all-time low was in May, and they will never ever get lower than that, in my opinion. I think that at 750 they are more than a great deal or fair, right? And because I don't know, I didn't bring my crystal ball to this meeting. I don't know if they're going to go down from 829, right? Because I did say that they're going to inverse the market soon or later, but I don't know if that's going to be tomorrow. And I also don't know how they're going to do on earnings, but I will bet, because they've been doing a lot of stuff, that they're going to kill it in earnings, right? If I was a betting man, which I am, so I will, I'm going to bet that they're going to kill it on earnings. So I am going to do what I tell my people on my Patreon not to do, which is buy short-term calls on Palantir in a bear market. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And you dividend investors, no offense, Steve, I see dividend, I don't mean anything to you, or YouTubers who are all about the S&P 500, and if you're not doing that, you're wrong. You can just watch me, right? But I promise you that putting all my eggs in one basket, because I truly believe in it, like I do in Palantir, will get me where I want to be before it'll get you where you want to be. And to finish it off here, technically, Palantir is like literally they're on what's called they're on what's called a bullish trading channel, right? And they never break support. So they'll come down to support and they'll never break it. So if they're never going to break it, they're never going to get to those all-time lows again. Listen, Palantir is only getting better, in my opinion. And that's what I think about that. Thank you for listening.
Right. Hopefully Palantir does not go bankrupt, because that would suck for you and your short-term calls.
They're gambles. They're gambles.
Gabe,
so
just curious. I know you're saying it's a gamble. What you're saying short? I know you have some stuff for 2023. What do you mean as short? Are you talking about monthly?
No. Okay, I'm so glad you asked. When I meant short term, so what a short term call is?
No, he knows that. He's not saying you're short. He's saying how short are the short-term calls? That's what he's asking.
Oh, yeah, what strike are you buying?
Yeah, so I'm gonna buy like a depending where it is, like on the week of I got, when are earnings exactly? Is it November 2nd?
November
7th?
Yeah.
November 7th. Okay, so let me look at the calendar real quick, and I'll tell you exactly when I'm going to start, because they're going to be, volatility is really going to be a great thing. All right, so November 7th is a Monday. Okay, by next Wednesday, I am buying October 11th expiring calls. October 11th expiring call.
You mean November 11th?
Yes, I do. I mean November. Thank you very much. Yes, I do. I mean November. November 11th by next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is going to be the 26th, right? On the 26th. Actually on the 2nd. On the 2nd of November. On the 2nd of November, I'm going to buy 11 November expiring calls, and I'm going to buy them out of the money. Right, I'm going to buy them out of the money, but not like a crazy amount out of the money. Depending on
contracts or the 11th strike.
No, on the 11th of November. The strike will depend.
Price?
I will tell you. Depends where it's at on that day. Like, because I can't tell you where they're going to be on the 2nd. Right. So let's just, for argument's sake, say that Palantir loses some steam and goes down to $8, right? So if it's at $8, I'm going to buy 850 strike calls, and a lot of them expiring on on November 11th, right? So it's going to be out of the money, and 2 weeks.
And your main thesis for this is that the government deals have been crazy, so the earnings are going to be good.
This is a gamble. This is a guess, and I'm going to say it again. This is a trade, not an investment, right? I am not saying that you should do this and that this is financial advice and that I'm going to be right. I know what I'm doing. I can afford the loss. I will never gamble money that I can't afford to lose. Unlike a lot of people, I've been blessed to be up in 2022. So, I'm lucky. I am not an S&P 500 investor. That's not me. So I just want to make that very clear. And as far as earnings, I think they're gonna, like Chris said, unless he was being facetious, I think they're gonna hit us with a lot of good surprises. I think in this bear market, that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
So
I did want to compliment what you said, Gabe, with agreement about, since I've been a shareholder since September, 30th of 2020 when they direct listed. I agree with you. Thinking about it holistically, from when they direct listed, I think private shares before that time were going for about $6.50. And then they direct listed. They kind of opened up at 10. I was fortunate to get filled at 10 with my first 1,000 shares. And I've since accumulated, I think my base is around $13 or so. But I agree with you wholly that you're at a 20% discount from where they direct listed. And you have de-risked substantially the company. You've been able to establish more of a moat. You've been able to get into more industries. And so I'm with you when you're saying, hey, I don't want to say it's nut up or shut up, because there's still a road to profitability here if you're including share-based compensation. I'm a believer that when you look at somehow that magically the cash in the corporate treasury continues to go up, even though and people are thinking that it's not profitable, I look at it more like, if you're looking specifically at cash flow from operations, they're a positive generating organization. That's why the cash is going up, right? So I like to remove the share-based compensation piece out of it because it's a non-cash item, but also I recognize the dilution aspect of it. But anyway, I just wanted to compliment that and agree that it's been a rough 2 years as a shareholder, but with the recognition that I always bought these things for 2030, recognizing that when I started working with the organization back in 2017, the light years ahead of any software that I had ever used, and it being listed to other companies, coupled with them reaching out to other industries, I was just like, I see the long-term vision of this thing. And if it is going to achieve that, I'm definitely going to be a part of that. With that said, I think that you now have 2 additional years under the belt of the organization and have removed a lot of that risk. And I think that from where we were 2 years ago to where we are today, great opportunity for somebody if, as you mentioned, dividend streams, if you were looking out to 2030 and want to invest, I think that this is a great establishing point. Granted, in kind of what you said as well, Gabe, if you're looking at the short term, you're looking at the next month or two, it's going to be a gamble, right? So you really have to organize and develop your investment in this company if you are thinking about it for your personal risk tolerances. Just because I have 3,500 shares, you have to keep in mind 3,500 shares might seem like a lot to you guys, but it's less than 4% of my portfolio, and I'm extremely bullish on the organization. 3,500 shares to some of you guys might be your entire portfolio or half of it, right? So you have to understand where it fits in your portfolio, your risk tolerance, your percentage allocation, and invest accordingly.
And Matt, I wanna say something. Like I told you guys, I'm gonna do an earnings play, right? But in my IRA, and I've said this many times, I am invested, and I won't even sell covered calls on Palantir because I don't want to. I don't want to put a roof on my earning potential. Right?
Not down here. Maybe once it gets back to the 20s, but not down here. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not just a gambler, and like people in the chat are making me seem like the devil because they're small-minded, but it is what it is. I am also an investor, but I wanted to say that I invest like Amit does, and I don't invest in the indexes. I invest in companies that I believe are going to go parabolic. Am I going to be wrong? Of course I am. But it's fine because hopefully I will be right in at least one of them. And I will do like Druckenmiller says and watch it like a hawk. Go ahead. Take over, Amit.
Steven, do you feel that the macro takes down all of tech and Palantir's along with that, or do you feel they have a chance to perform inverse to the macro?
Sorry, my Windows bar was hiding my unmute.
No worries, you're good.
I have a little bit of a different approach when it comes to earnings because I'm not looking at the short term, and I think it's a real crapshoot because we don't know what type of revenue is going to hit the Q3 earnings. We don't know when they're going to start with implementation with the new contracts that they brought on board. And more important, what the cohort numbers say than what the actual revenue top line and EPS bottom line is, because I'm looking at it for Q1, Q2, 2023. I think this is a building time. And I think one thing people need to really look at is the balance sheet. This is not levered. This is a company with $0 of debt. So whether they miss, whether they beat, whether the EPS comes in at 0 or -6, it doesn't matter because this is not a company with a single dollar in debt on long-term or short-term. So I'm not too concerned about it. If I had to predict with a crystal ball, I think there's a better chance they're going to beat earnings than not, but I don't have a crystal ball. So I don't drive myself crazy with what's going to happen tomorrow. I look at it as I am willing to invest money in company XYZ if I think I can get a better return over the long term than putting in an S&P index fund. And what happens in the short term doesn't matter. I'll buy more and I'll dollar cost average, just like I have with Palantir. But I'm in a position where I can do that, fortunately enough. I think Palantir has tremendous potential to make a very nice return in the future, but it very well may not. I think the next 2 quarters are going to be very important with the customers they bring on, the contracts they get, and what the net dollar retention says, and what the potential for 2023 is.
Okay. We got about 5-6 minutes left. I wanted to take this time to kind of ask you guys what one other stock you guys are interested in right now, whether you're DCAing it, whether you're swing trading it, whether you think it's going to be the next Amazon, just one stock that you guys have in your mind that you are also interested in along with Palantir. Let's start off with Randall. Or if you don't have one, that's fine. But is there any stock you're interested in?
I mean, it's kind of boring and it's kind of what everyone says, but I think Tesla. I mean, like you gotta bet on a winner, and that's a winner in my book.
Okay, Logan.
Yeah, I'm playing some shorter term call options on Tesla right now because I think with this the Twitter overhang, no matter what happens, I think it's bullish any way you look at it. So if Elon closes the deal, he's not going to sell any more shares. The stock goes up. If the government tries to cancel the deal, stock goes up. If Twitter doesn't want to sell, stock goes up. So really, to me, it's a very disproportionate amount of upside in this kind of like choppy part of the market. And also Tesla's at its lowest PE ratio and like almost all time. So
shout out to Chris in the chat. He's interested in Snowflake, and CodeStrap also in the chat's response to Chris's argument about Snowflake was 4 words that are beautiful words that we love those words here. Matt, stock you're interested in besides Palantir?
Yeah, I will say I do agree, Logan. I think that there is some potential to have some short reversal in Tesla that I think if you buy the right option price, I think that you will probably see some pretty good opportunity there. I think it's moved down pretty significantly short term. My personal stock, I think it's the same as I don't know if it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when you asked. Rocket Lab for me, I think it has a similar, maybe not a similar trajectory as Palantir. I think Palantir is a little bit further along, but I think Rocket Lab could be something that easily sees a 10 to 20x in the coming, say, 8 years as well. So I bought Rocket Lab with the thought of 2030 in mind as well. And I think it'll see a similar path as SpaceX has seen. They're in a slightly different market, of course, but still in a similar industry, for example. And I think Rocket Lab will do phenomenally. And I'm also keeping a close eye on that to eventually see, hopefully, long-term profitability in the coming years.
Okay, Gabe, your stock that you are potentially interested in? Or you're muted, by the way.
Thanks. So in my 401k, I am in nothing. I'm not even in the queues. I am in a money market account because I think we're going way lower. In my Roth IRA, I used to be in 3 stocks: Tesla, Palantir, and a pink sheet stock called Netlist. I made a lot of money on them. We've talked about this a bit, but I still kept a nice amount in my Roth IRA just in case they win what they're supposed to do. I'm telling you guys that because I sold my Tesla, because as someone in the chat said, I do think that, I'm going to get the pitchforks for this, but yeah, I will never, BS or tell people what they want to hear. I don't think Tesla will be impervious to what's coming. And they have a PE ratio of over 80, and if they lose half, they still have a PE ratio over 40. And I'm not saying they're not worth it. I'm not saying they're not great. They just said that they are going to average 50% growth, right? I'm just saying that you gotta know your audience, right? And the audience in a bad macro environment doesn't want to pay a PE of 80. People think that in a bull market, when people pay an over 100 PE for Tesla and they get put in the S&P 500, that's going to stay like that forever. And that's just not reality. These recession cycles happen on average one every 10 to 12 years. So I sold my Tesla. I did. I do love them long term. I'm definitely an Elon fanboy, but I'm also pragmatic. I think Netlist, which is a pink sheet, it's not even like on the New York Stock Exchange. They used to be, but they're a pink sheet right now. It's completely a gamble. They're either going to win with their very, very long litigation against Samsung, Micron, Google, etc. And they're going to win, and this has been going on over a decade. And they're either going to get like royalties up the wazoo. Look up QCOM and Apple. When QCOM went through what with Apple and they won, they went parabolic quick. That can happen with Netlist, or they can lose. We'll see what happens. So Palantir and Netlist, that's all I got. Okay. And when I sold my Tesla, I actually wrote puts on Palantir at a 750 strike to get more Palantir shares. So there's that.
Okay. Last thing I'm going to share is something Steven wanted me to share with everybody. Steven, you can go ahead and start talking about it.
Okay, if you could go to slide 6, the price to free cash flow multiple. So before the one stock I am planning on holding for a very long time, I'm going to have Amit take a guess.
What you want me to guess which stock you're going to hold for a long time?
Excluding Palantir, a very long time.
I think it is SoFi.
Very good. And did you watch the interview I sent you?
I did. I watched the whole thing.
And your thoughts?
My thoughts is that SoFi is, at this valuation, a very, very attractive stock right now. And the Galileo digital, like Galileo is a platform, super bull case, digital banking, obviously bull case. But if Galileo is what AWS of fintech dreams it has to become, then it can be big.
Yeah, we don't have enough time to discuss that, but that interview of Anthony Noto is one of the greatest interviews I've ever watched from any CEO. We should link it somewhere. It is phenomenal. So I made a couple of slides based on valuation. I figured it would come up point. And right now, Palantir, and I like free cash flow as my valuation of choice for looking at companies. I threw Salesforce in there for a specific reason. Salesforce and I don't have a crystal ball, but they're never becoming a Microsoft. Okay. Microsoft has end user products as well as corporate. They're never becoming a Amazon. It's just not what they do. But they are a behemoth of a software company, and they're trading at a just over 28x free cash flow right now. Granted, whatever they've done in 2022, everyone hit. So the question I ask myself is, can Palantir at some point get to this level of free cash flow? I don't know. Okay. I have no clue. Right now, if Chris was here, I would say 173x for Snowflake is quite rich. Can it improve? Yes. What are they going to do? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. Mick, can you go to slide 7, please? Thank you. So based on what Alex Carpet previously said, and I took some speculation in years 2026 through 2030, and I kept it at the 2021 free cash flow margin throughout the 2030 mark. There is a path if things fall into place and the revenue declines in 2026 through 2030 to from 25 to 15% growth. Maybe that's realistic, maybe it isn't. But at the free cash flow margin they were at in 2021, it puts them at 2.5 billion in free cash flow.
Yep.
Maybe they get there, maybe they don't. Could you go to the next slide, please? So I made three grids based on the assumptions I made, and these are my numbers. They probably will not pan out, just my speculation, and how I'm looking at Palantir as an investment. If you give them a 25x free cash flow multiple, which is less than half of what they're trading at right now, if they do get to that 2.5 billion free cash flow in 2030, they would have a valuation of just over 63 billion, which is 270% upside. If you put a 35x multiple on them at that free cash flow level, you're looking at an $88 billion company. And if you put a 45x multiple, 566% upside.
Stephen,
I mean,
would that multiple be contingent upon the macro during 2025?
I don't think the macro, I'll probably get a lot of heat for this, but I don't think the macro really is going to matter when it comes to free cash flow. I mean, free cash flow is a number that can't be manipulated.
Yeah.
You know, we're not talking about net income where it depends what you write off and all the different tax implications. This is simply your cash minus your CapEx. And that's why I like this number, because it is very hard to manipulate. And this is how I like to look at investments.
I agree with you.
And
Yep.
look, there's a path for a lot of upside if things fall into place. And when you look at what they're doing, I would tend to err on the side that it's going to pan out. Now, unless something goes really wrong, I'm going to have to reassess my personal investment and look at how things pan out. But right now, I don't see anything, especially with the growth in commercial. Amit, one more slide. Do me a favor. Go to slide number 4, because it's very important. I wish they had put this in the Q2 presentation, not the letter that Alex, because these slides are so important because it shows you the growth from the newest customers. If you look at the right-hand side, the amount of U.S. commercial growth that they have done is phenomenal from their new customer base. And on the left, they're growing their revenue all based on the new contracts. And you start looking at what they did with Exxon. You look at the Skywise venture. They could possibly do that in several other industries. It looks like they're going to do that with Hyundai Heavy. Looks like that they have the potential to do that with Exxon, considering they're probably going to build off of what they did with BP. They also have a JP Morgan. There are so many avenues for them to create custom solutions and have that sell down the value chain to companies they wouldn't even be associated with, but through their partnerships, they should collect theoretically some of the revenue. So I see a lot of potential, but once again, as I stated on Seeking Alpha, I'm giving them now, after this earnings presentation, 3 more quarters before I really reassess my position, because I was not thrilled with Q2, but it looks like it's changing based on the interviews we've seen.
Stephen, can you can you disclose, if you're comfortable, how much of your portfolio is Palantir?
Yeah, I would feel very comfortable if I even knew. I honestly don't know. I mean, I can tell you that outside
Above
of
10%?
I don't know. Outside of my our retirement funds, I mean, we own 30 individual stocks maybe and 10 funds, 15 funds. So I don't know. I'd have to get back to you. I'd
David,
say 5 to 10%.
Can
Maybe.
you share your Seeking Alpha so people can follow you? Your Seeking Alpha, a name or whatnot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just,
you can put one of your articles in the chat if you want, Stephen. I'll also put in the show notes afterwards. So
yeah, if you, I can do it.
yeah,
Cool.
I'll do that.
So I'm
Cool.
interested what you guys think on just the free cash flow valuation real quick, if you guys have time to stay on.
I think
Matt?
I agree 100%. I like free cash flow as a metric. I personally look at cash flow from operations personally because it just literally kind of removes out the cost of goods sold. And I think that that's a true representation of how profitable an organization can be. Free cash flow is very dependent on buybacks, dividends, a lot of those things. And so when I look at more so companies and their profitability, I look for price to cash flow from operations. But it's a low capex business for Palantir, so I think free cash flow is a good way to look at it as well. And I think you normalized it against other organizations that are in the software industry as well. So I don't think it's a bad way to look at it. I just prefer cash flow from operations. But I agree wholly with where you're going with it. I think a lot of people need to recognize that it's a high margin business, and once it actually starts hitting profitability, you're really going to start seeing that number move up. With respect to the cash flow and the positive cash flow at that, because every dollar that they move up, they're going to be probably net 30 to 40% of that for revenue. And I think a lot of people don't recognize how profitable that business is now because it's currently running underwater because of the share-based compensation. But once you kind of get out of that in the next couple quarters, then I think that people will really start to see what kind of cash flow machine this thing will be.
It's exciting stuff, Stephen. Thank you for sharing these slides. I think it was really, really valuable stuff, especially to see those projections in the context of valuation. Chris Patel says free cash flow is not more important than ever. Rising interest rate, I think he meant to say is more important than ever, given rising interest rate environments. Is now more important, right? Not now more important. Okay, awesome stuff. This was great. We needed some people today because Chris and Sachin couldn't be here. So me and Matt's becoming basically a regular now every week, which is awesome. So thank you, Logan, Randall, Steven, and Gabe for hopping on, sharing your wisdom about the markets. And another week goes by, another week of analyzing Palantir, and we'll be back next week. Cool. Awesome, guys. Thank you all for joining. 160 of you. Check out the show notes afterwards. I'll link everybody's stuff, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Nice meeting all of you.